The UK's next capital of culture. Martin Stew has been hearing the pitch from Norfolk and Suffolk.
Two county towns, two distinct local histories and two football teams. But only one can be crowned the city of culture. So will it be up-and-coming Ipswich or historic Norwich? I'll let you decide.
It's Ipswich. We're still ahead of them in football and we're ahead of them in culture. And I think we've got a lot to offer in this town in terms of theatre, in terms of music, especially in terms of dance. We've really turned this town around and I think the world should turn its attention to us.
Norwich, without a doubt, one of the preeminent cultural destinations in Europe. The largest medieval walled city in England, destined to become a major cultural venue over the next 3 years.
What's great about our bid, which is very different from Norwich, is we're hoping to include partners from outside of Ipswich too, so that we can include the Latitude Festival, Aldeburgh Snake Maltings, Constable Country, the Dedham Vale. It's all going to be absolutely brilliant and I'm confident we're going to win over Norwich.
I think this is a very good reflection of Norwich's cultural role. Just randomly, we bump into a Japanese delegation who are coming to celebrate one of the great Japanese cultural icons in our city at the Sainsbury's Centre, which is one of the best art venues in the UK.
It's not just the future we're really excited about, it's the past too. We have some great history here, Gainsborough, Constable, and all taking place in these wonderful historic grounds. That's why we should be the City of Culture in 2013.
Reflecting the ancient and modern nature of Norwich, we have the 15th century Church of St Peter Mancroft reflected in the front of one of the most inspiring architectural creations of the 21st century, which inside contains the most modern library in the UK and one of the most impressive digital performance spaces in the whole of Europe.
Both have plenty to offer and they'll need to beat off 27 other cities in the running. The winner will be announced next spring.
And they're both great places, actually. And here's another one. Plans are afoot to save one of King's Lynn's most famous landmarks. The Campbell's Tower looked set to be pulled down after Tesco announced plans for a new superstore on the site. But the town's Civic Society wants to get the tower listed. They say it symbolises the economic revival of the town in the 1960s. A group of students have begun pulling down their treehouse after losing a planning battle to save it.
Adam Jackson and some friends from university built the 21-foot-high structure on his family's farm near Wymondham in Norfolk 5 years ago.
But they put it up without planning permission and the local council ruled it had to come down. Natalie Gray has more.
It was a day they were dreading, the day they had to start dismantling their beloved treetop den. Ben Robbins has spent many nights camped here, but this was his last.
I was looking around, just seeing all these things, like all the names sort of signed down here that remind me of loads of stuff happening. And I can sort of look at every bit and see where we've sort of cut it or put nails in.
It took 3 years to perfect their high-rise habitat at Brandon Parva near Wymondham, and it'll take just 3 days to tear it down. There's no doubt about it, this is a wondrous structure with some of the best views in the county. It's just such a shame that there can be no happy ending for this fairy tale treehouse. Why not? Well, after a neighbour complained, South Norfolk District Council refused to grant retrospective planning permission. It said it had an adverse effect on the appearance of the tree and detracted from the outlook of the neighbouring property. The boys went to appeal, but lost.
My favourite memory of the treehouse would be when we all we went paintballing for my stag do just before the day before I got married, and then on that night we spent our last night together as all single men in the treehouse and spent all night playing I Spy.
Probably the I Spy playing most times whenever Ben's here, really, until usually the early hours of the morning.
I think my favourite time was before we had the sort of like the luxury of a proper shelter to sleep under. And we all slept in this very cramped area underneath the tarpaulin. That was kind of good fun.
For me, just time to add my name to the long list of visitors. Then they couldn't put it off anymore. The boys gained support from environmental charities and more than 1,300 people signed an online petition to save it.
I feel a little bit of a sense of injustice, I think, and I think a lot of people share that feeling. But
yeah, I think forgiveness is quite important.
Will you and your happy gang build another treehouse?
Yes, the adventure continues. Yes, certainly there'll be other projects in the pipe.
So perhaps this isn't the end of this treehouse after all. Natalie Gray, Anglia News, Brandon Parva in Norfolk.
Did Adam just wink at us?
He did just wink at us. I wonder what's coming up.
I don't think we've seen the last from Adam's structures.
No.
Now, Cardinal Wolsey would have recognised the sound which rang out over Ipswich today.
Yes, Henry VIII's right-hand man, who was born in Ipswich in 1471, would have heard the very same bells that pealed from the tower of St Lawrence Church in the town.
The bells have been silent for more than 20 years, but after a major restoration project, they can be rung again. Victoria Webb reports.
After more than 2 decades of silence, the bells of St Lawrence are once again ringing out across Ipswich. They're the oldest ring of bells in Christendom and are thought to date back around 500 years.
They are most beautifully toned. They've never been damaged or recast or in any way repaired, and they have this genuine medieval sound that would have been familiar to the young Wolsey. He was a boy of 9 when the 5th bell was added, almost certainly by his uncle Edmund Dorndy. And that's why we call them Wolsey's bells.
The magnificent Tower of St Lawrence is not all it seems. The medieval-looking facade is actually an extension built by the Victorians. They raised the bells to the top, but the extensions struggled to deal with the strains of supporting 2 tons of bells, and 20 years ago they stopped ringing for safety reasons.
The tower is relatively tall and slender, and the bells swinging create a lot of thrust on the tower. And as such, the movement that they make within the tower is getting too much, so it's far better for the structure itself if they can be hung lower in the tower, which is what we've done.
The bells and bell ringers platform have been lowered 8 metres to their original medieval position. The restoration has cost £80,000 and seen the bells transported to London to be restored by the same company who made Big Ben. It's been a labour of love to bring an historic sound back to Ipswich. Victoria Webb, Anglia News.
I do love that sound.
Absolutely great to hear those bells, and great to see all those blue skies that we've had in all the stories in the programme tonight. So, blue skies to continue. Let's take a look at the weather now with Amanda Houston.